Good morning, and thank you for joining us for State of Texas. I'm Robert Hadlock. Lawmakers will be back in Austin Tuesday for the start of the special session, and education issues could take the spotlight. State of Texas could order school districts to spend more money on teacher pay. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick laid out a plan to make districts dedicate $700 million to teacher bonuses. The money would come from funds districts already get from the Texas Lottery. But KXAN political reporter Phil Prazen says some are skeptical.
One of the closest monuments to the state capitol is dedicated to the young students of Texas. Nearly every lawmaker will say those kids are their top priority, but the details can drive some of the harshest arguments in the building.
Well, good morning.
Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick laid out his path to accomplish Governor Abbott's goal of raising teacher pay. No new money, but making districts reprioritize.
Over the next 4 years, find 5% of all of your funding that's not going to teachers and make sure it goes to teachers.
And we need, raises, because a lot of stuff that we buy for our kids in the classroom, or materials, supplies, anything for curriculum or a lesson, it comes out of our pocket.
Nicole Elliott is a social studies teacher from Mesquite. She stumbled into the press while touring the Capitol, and she's skeptical her district has the current money to spare.
But I know for our district, it's all about the classroom first before maybe admin.
Mark Wiggins from the Association of Texas Professional Educators says without new state money, districts will continue the current trend of asking for more money from local taxpayers.
There are districts that have said they're going to have to close their doors because they are not getting enough support from the state.
Hearing none.
The argument over education continues next week when the special session starts. Phil Prazen, KXAN News.
We want to give you a closer look at the Lieutenant Governor's plan. It calls for teachers to get a bonus next March if they've been teaching anywhere from 6 to 10 years. Then after 11 years, they'll get a bonus of $1,000 every year. Teachers with more than 20 years of experience will get more money, $600 added on to the annual bonus. As you just saw in Phil's story, there is both support and skepticism about the Lieutenant Governor's plan. Same is true for other education items on the agenda for the special session. We want to bring you perspective from those different sides. Joining us now, we have Jennifer Canaday from the Association of Texas Professional Educators and Peggy Venable with the Texas Public Policy Foundation. Thank you both for being here this morning. We appreciate you coming in.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Ms. Canaday, your group represents teachers, of course, and but we heard an ATPE representative come out against this pay raise plan. What kind of response are you getting from your members?
Well, members are happy to see that there is an emphasis being placed on teacher pay. Many of them are very concerned about their health care costs going up. The Teacher Retirement System Board has had to make a number of changes to the plan design because there's been a long time deficit in funding for those health care plans, and they're going to see their premiums and deductibles going up starting in January 2018. So many of them would appreciate the additional pay, but I think they also recognize that we haven't yet seen any details on where those funds are going to come from. And if, as the Lieutenant Governor has suggested and the Governor has suggested previously, if we're going to take only existing funds that are being given to school districts and simply force them to reallocate that same money, then that does pose some concerns for many educators.
Ms. Venable, what's your group's position on the pay raise?
Well, we think that we don't just need more money for education, we need to be getting more education for our money. The state has prioritized education spending. It is 52% of the budget when you include higher ed with that. And out of the $60 billion that we've spent on K through 12 education, only $24 billion of that is actually spent on instruction. And during a period when spending on education in Texas grew 17%, in just inflation adjusted, teacher pay grew only 1%. We think those dollars need to be reprioritized to the classroom and to teachers.
School choice was the source of a lot of controversy during the regular session. We saw huge rallies trying to sway opinions for the lawmakers, but ATPE and other groups have always stood against those bills. What's wrong with giving parents and students more options?
Parents already have options. They do have the opportunity, if they choose, to enroll their students, their children in private schools. There's also a good bit of public school choice in our system. We have public charter schools, magnet schools, a number of different options for parents to choose depending where they live. We just don't believe it's fiscally responsible to take those tax dollars and send them to private entities that don't have to account for how they spend them. They are completely unregulated. And I find it interesting that while we're talking about wanting our public school districts to reallocate and reprioritize how they're spending the money, there would be absolutely no checks and balances on how such a private school would spend those funds.
Ms. Venerable, your group created a group for these the school choice issue, giving the tax dollars to private schools. Could that mean fewer resources to public schools?
Well, we believe public schools should not be funded for students they're not teaching. So parents, we absolutely believe parents should be empowered, that families should be making the decisions on what education environment best suits their child, specifically this most vulnerable population of special needs kids, and particularly since we have seen that school districts have continually denied special needs designation to so many of these kids that have previously had it or that we believe deserve to get that designation. There was an artificial cap placed on the number of special needs kids that could be identified, and Texas has the lowest percentage of any state in the country now at 8.5%, whereas the national average is 13.5%. We believe students have been denied services, and we've even been hearing from teachers, from administrators, and from doctors outside the school system that have said that school districts have arbitrarily denied services to kids who need it.
But a lot of rural school districts are opposed to it. They say it's going to take money from them. There are no alternatives in these smaller communities.
Well, believe it or not, when an individual education plan is established, that doesn't mean that that child has to go to a specific school. There are other many options, whether it's with tutoring, online learning, special therapies. You know, special needs kids are such a broad range of needs that there's not any one that can best identify where that child needs to be going and how they need to be educated.
This 30 days is going to go very quickly. What are your top priorities?
Well, I just want to say, first of all, that I would agree with Peggy, and I do think we had some state policies and laws in place that, whether it was knowing or unknowing, had the impact of limiting access to special education services for some of those students who desperately need it. And fortunately, the legislature addressed that during the regular session and passed a law to prevent any sort of arbitrary cap from being set in the future, and so we do think that will help a number of those students in our public schools get access to the services they need. As far as other priorities for the session, we would like to see the discussions on school finance continue. We were very disappointed to see that fall by the wayside at the end of the regular session. The House, under the leadership of Speaker Strauss, the Public Education Committee Chair Dan Huberty, spent many months working with stakeholders, gathering a lot of input to craft a plan to overhaul our school finance system that isn't working very well, and all of that was for naught. At the end of the session, the Senate would not agree to continue those discussions. So I think this is an opportunity to pick up where they left off and see if we can make some meaningful changes on school finance.
Your top priorities?
Well, at Texas Public Policy Foundation has a number of priorities. We're actually having a policy forum on Monday discussing those with the governor, the lieutenant governor, and several of the legislators will be participating along with the education commissioner. But we have a broad array of issues that we're interested in. Certainly, school choice is among those, as well as school finance, teacher pay, and we also are wanting the state to be local government entities not to have the ability to collect union dues, and think that's also a problem.
And our priority will be killing that legislation. Yes, we think this is a highly unnecessary attack directed mainly at educators to try to make it more difficult for them to join professional associations like ours that provide them with liability insurance, professional development opportunities, and our advocacy work trying to provide a better public education for the 5.4 million students in Texas.
Jennifer Canaday and Peggy Venable, thank you for coming in. We appreciate hearing your views.
Thanks for having me.
Governor Abbott put a target on Austin in the special session, promising a fight to roll back local regulations. We'll hear from two local lawmakers who have a very different thought on the governor's position.
This property tax situation that's pretty out of control across the state gets addressed directly.
Travis County Republicans push their priorities for the special session, aiming at a policy they call fundamentally unfair. Travis County Republicans will get a visit from the Lieutenant Governor this Monday night. It's part of a fundraiser and a chance to get a preview of what's to come in the special session. The chairman of the Travis County GOP says his group is pushing lawmakers to pass restrictions on cities' abilities to annex land.
No one should be annexed without having a chance to vote on it. If you live somewhere, you choose to live there, and out of nowhere a city chooses to annex you and saddles you with their taxes and their debt and their policies, that's fundamentally un-Texan and fundamentally unfair.
The Travis County GOP Summer Bash event with Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick happens tomorrow night in Buda. You do have to pay to get in that dinner. You can find information on their website. The fight to roll back local regulations has support from top Republicans, but Democrats are fighting back, and they're getting some help. We'll hear why one local representative says it's important to stop these measures for all of Texas. We're just 2 days out now from the start of the special session, and many members of the Travis County delegation are gearing up for a battle. Several controversial items are on the call, like the bathroom bill and school choice, but also bills targeting the powers of the city of Austin. This morning, we're bringing you perspective from some local lawmakers. State Representative Donna Howard represents District 48, which covers South Austin and Travis County. Thank you for coming in. We appreciate it. Special session, of course, begins this week. What do you expect to happen? What are your priorities?
Well, the priority is to make sure we pass the must-pass legislation, which is the sunset legislation, to ensure that our medical board can continue to license physicians, and the behavioral health boards have the same ability. Other than that, I think the House is really focused on using the time we're here to deal with those issues that can have the most significant impact on the lives of Texans. So I hear a lot of us talking about school finance, making sure that we're addressing the kinds of things that really can have an impact on our property taxes, since school taxes are over 50% of our property taxes.
Governor Abbott, of course, has raised the point of teacher pay in this special session. Lieutenant Governor Patrick said districts should reprioritize to make it happen. Teacher pay, everyone seems to be for it, but you're against this plan.
Well, I'm not against teacher pay raises. I think we need to do more to adequately pay our teachers. The problem is we're not putting the resources behind that. What's been proposed by the Lieutenant Governor is simply taking money that currently exists and reshifting where it goes, which means that you would have less to spend on other parts of education. And that's not giving the districts what they need to be able to adequately fund teachers, to adequately fund everything else that we require. It's asking them to do more with less.
Democrats, you of course have been opposed to measures like the bathroom bill and school choice, but they're not likely to get enough votes to stop the bills in the special session. So what happens now?
Well, I think that there's a lot that will not happen in the special session. We had 140 days in the regular session to deal with some of these same issues, and they did not pass. I don't think it's going to change in a 30-day special session. The fact is that these are oftentimes manufactured issues anyway. The bathroom issue, there's no one talking to me about that. In fact, what I'm hearing from is Apple and IBM actually stopped by my office or called this week saying they're totally opposed to this. This is bad for business. With school choice, we have school choice already in existence. What's being talked about here is taking public dollars, putting them into private schools without accountability. And that's just not something that's acceptable to most Texans.
There's been talk at the Capitol about Democrats walking out en masse. So we've seen the rodeo before, of course, going to hide out in Oklahoma and whatever. The goal would be to prevent a quorum to try to block the votes on controversial issues like the bathroom bill. Have you heard any move toward that?
Everybody's talking about all kinds of things. But I think we're here to do what needs to be done. If that was a tactic that would have some real long-lasting impact, I think it's certainly something that could be a tool in the toolbox. But quite frankly, I don't know that we're going to have a quorum every day anyway, not because of Democrats necessarily, but because of others, including Republicans who may have other plans, may not be showing up. We'll be doing whatever we can, though, to ensure that bad legislation, bad public policy doesn't pass. But I think we'll do it by being present.
So you're opening the door to perhaps leaving if that's...
That's always an option anytime. It's just one of the strategies, especially for a minority party to use. You use what procedural tools are available to you, but I don't see that as a realistic possibility in this session.
Governor, of course, having harsh words about the city of Austin and its leadership, a proposal to take some local ordinances away, like the one to protect the heritage trees on private property. What are you expecting from that measure during the special session?
Well, we actually had an agreed upon piece of legislation that Dade Phelan had filed in the regular session that all the stakeholders agreed on. It passed almost unanimously in both the House and the Senate, and the governor vetoed it for some reason. So we've actually addressed that and had bipartisan solution to it, but it keeps coming back. You know, again, this is really looking for a problem that doesn't really exist. In the city of Austin, the ordinance applies to only about 1% of the trees. And of the requests that they get for permits, about 95% are approved. So we're talking about a very small number. And this is really seems to be a petty political issue, not based on a real problem going on. And I want to remind people that our cities are our big economic drivers. There is a reason that Austin's listed on one of the best places to live and work on a lot of the national assessments of that. So we're doing something right here. I think the local people can decide what's best for their communities.
State Representative Donna Howard of Austin, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Another Travis County representative has a much different perspective on the local control debate. Up next, find out why this Austin state representative says city powers need to be reined in.